dodging the raindrops, and it looks like we'll have some cloud bursts coming on and off today, but it's beautiful here, a beautiful place. So thank you all for being here. If you haven't been here before, Protect Geauga Parks is the group that is sponsoring the Western Reserve Land Conservancy to be here tonight. And Protect Geauga Parks is, contrary to what you may have heard, a group of peaceful and law-abiding concerned citizens. Thanks to the thoughtful foresight of so many people who listened to experts in natural resources management and for over 50 years wisely conserved some of the best and most pristine lands in Geauga County. Much of Geauga County has been preserved, and our parks have been a gem envied throughout Ohio. Conservation in our parks provide benefits to every resident of Geauga County and every resident of the region, whether or not they ever set foot in a park. And partnerships with private conservation lands only make that better. Protect Geauga Parks. We say that our parks have always been beneficial and available to everyone, and we want to keep them that way for future generations. We're calling for a responsible, transparent, and diligent oversight of our parks, which considers the founding purpose of the parks, which was conserve, preserve, and protect. And we want to use some common sense standards to assure that those standards will be used into the future. Tonight, we're bringing Western Reserve Land Conservancy in, and we welcome them being here. We're so happy to have them agree to talk with us tonight. So you'll learn a lot more about land conservation within the area. And Barb is going to come up and intro. Come on up, Barb. Thank you all for being here.
Okay, I have a really big part here. So my job is to introduce Brett Rodstrom. So Brett is the Vice President of the Eastern Division of the Western Reserve Land Conservancy. And in the picture, if you go on the Western Reserve Land Conservancy site, he's holding a really big fish. So I didn't really recognize him today because he came without the fish. But I'm going to ask him to tell us about himself because I've told you now everything I know. But we do hear he's a fine person and a great environmentalist and a good speaker. The person I'd also really like to commend is Emily Baca, who's here in the front row. She and I have had about 1 million emails back and forth to set this up today to make sure we had all our ducks in a row. So she's the marketing and communications person for Western Reserve Land Conservancy. So if you want to do a program, she's your person, and she's really awesome. So I want to thank Emily for that. So Brett, if you would tell us about yourself, Western Reserve, and everything you're going to speak about tonight. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Thank you. I usually bring the fish to every presentation, but I forgot tonight, so. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. As Barb said, I'm Brett Rodstrom with the Western Reserve Land Conservancy. I'm the Vice President of Eastern Field Operations. I work with a variety of landowners, a variety of individuals, community leaders, all over the eastern region of our region, and we'll talk about what that region is in a minute. And we're working towards a common goal of communities, healthy communities, and making sure that communities stay healthy or become healthy again. With me tonight, Emily Baca, who's already introduced. We also have Megan Quinn in the back here, who's on our development team. And our former board president, John Leach, is here as well. So good to see you, John. So I'll start here with the Land Conservancy, and we're going to do an overview of who we are, what we do, talk about some of our successes and kind of a directional approach to where we're going and how that all ties in with parks. Our vision, thriving, prosperous communities nurtured by vibrant natural areas, working farms, and healthy cities. We use this vision to implement our mission to provide people of the region with essential natural assets through land conservation and restoration. We do some restoration work. Most of the restoration work we do, however, comes as an aside to the land acquisition or land protection work that we do, and usually it's involved in some of the grant sources we use. I won't touch on that tremendously tonight, but it is becoming an increasingly larger part of our work. So our focus is, as you might expect, natural areas preservation. That's the one that most land trusts are known for. But we also do a large bit of agricultural conservation, and this is protecting agricultural lands, and we'll talk about the importance of that here in a few minutes. We have a pretty robust urban revitalization program, which is set us apart nationally from other land trusts throughout the country. And again, some of the restoration components we do with stream and wetlands that we work on that pertain to our projects that we work through. Our project area is essentially from the Lake Erie Islands all the way over to Conneaut and now down to Jefferson County, Steubenville area. So between 17 and 20 counties in Northeast Ohio, we do have projects that we've done beyond this project area, but this is the focus of most of our work. So it's a big area. I cover Lake Geauga, Ashtabula, and then also Columbiana, Carroll, and Jefferson counties. My counterpart Alex is working in Portage, Trumbull, Mahoning, and some Ashtabula County as well. And then our Western Field Director, Andy McDowell, is handling everything on the other side of Cleveland. I don't even know what happens over there, but it's mostly corn and a lot of those things. And he gets to hang out on the islands a lot too, which is fun for him. So we have offices. Our central office is in Moreland Hills. It used to be here in Chesterland. We've since moved to Moreland Hills. We have a beautiful facility there. If you haven't been there, you should stop by sometime, get a tour, look at the green building and some of the infrastructure that we put in place there. I work out of a field office in Chardon, which is on the square, and then we have field offices throughout the region, Firelands, which is in Oberlin. We have an Orville office, an Akron office, a Medina Summit office, and then our Thriving Communities, which is our urban office, which is in Cleveland on the west side. So we have a big approach. We have localized offices. We have a lot going on in this region. Incidentally, we have a staff of about 35 or so. We have a board, I think, is around 30 right now. So we have a pretty robust board, and that board represents all facets of the work we do, whether it's urban or agricultural or natural areas or just folks that are looking to help out communities regionally. So we are funded mostly through gifts that are $50 up to $50,000. These are annual gifts that we get every year. My job tonight is to encourage all of you to give to us, of course, but please give to all conservation organizations. It's very important. We do make some money off of some of the deals that we do sometimes. We charge fees for our work, but usually that is a minimal part of what we're doing. So a lot of it is really based on the gifts that we're getting from individuals. So we appreciate all the support that we've had to date. A little bit about our region. It encompasses 4.9 million acres of land. It's 165 miles of Lake Erie shoreline. It's about 17 counties, about 20 counties now, more than 400 distinct municipalities or communities. So that's townships, villages, cities. There's a lot of different political aspects to all those places, and those are things that we have to navigate, especially me as an external voice for the organization. It's home to 4.8 million people. If you look at those numbers, that's about an acre per person if you average it out, which is interesting, and it's all part of 16 watersheds, 11 of which drain into Lake Erie. So Lake Erie is a big part, in the Great Lakes in general, a big part of not only our work, but also the funding sources that we try to tap into to make these projects happen. Our environment, high quality watersheds, diverse habitats, mature forests, natural areas, really exceptional agricultural land and soils. People don't really, they underestimate how good our soils are for agricultural, scenic landscapes, and then we have rural, semi-rural, and urban areas. And these are all the environments that we live in, and our approach is to try to address and improve all of those aspects of our work. If you're going to pay attention to one thing tonight, one thing only, please let it be this slide. This is one of my favorite slides of all time. What it shows is the U.S. Census population from 1950 and then again the population in 2000. The area in red that you see on both these maps, and this is Cuyahoga County, the area in red is the developed area of the county. 1950, it was basically centered around Cleveland and some of those inner ring suburbs. You'll see in green here the Emerald Necklace, Cleveland Metro Parks, obviously a very progressive park district that thought ahead to put some of this space aside. 2002 though, we see that essentially Cuyahoga County is built out. There is not a lot of land left that isn't developed. The areas that haven't been developed have been gobbled up either by the park district or are in the process of being developed. So what has happened here is what we consider almost full build out of a county. And that happens in smaller cities and communities sometimes, but this is almost a full build out of a county. What's fascinating to me about this slide is the population number. 1.39 million people in 1950, and guess what? 2000 is 1.39 million people. Same amount of people living in the same county. So the population didn't change. It did go up and down in that time frame for sure, but at the end of the day, it's the same number, yet all the urban infrastructure, sidewalks,